All right, this meeting, this hybrid meeting of city council members and members of the public can view this meeting live on Channel 8, the city's website, and YouTube. Live Spanish translation services are provided for tonight's council meeting by telephone. Please dial 720-386-9023 and use code 104091.
Se ofrecen servicios de interpretación en español para esta reunión del Consejo Municipal por teléfono. Marque el número 720-386-9023 y utilice el código 104091 estrella.
Okay, just want to remind council there's some changes here with Bob's Rule of Order. All votes tonight on the agenda will be conducted as a roll call vote. As a reminder, per Bob's Rules of Order, a member's right to the floor is limited to 5 minutes at any time. A member may obtain the floor only once upon all the other members have been offered opportunity to obtain the floor. I will now call the meeting to order and ask the clerk for roll call vote.
Mayor Douglas,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Noble,
Present.
Councilmember Madera,
Present.
Councilmember Teeter,
Present.
Councilmember Chacon,
Present.
Councilmember Kim, Councilmember Dukes,
Present.
Councilmember Ford,
Present.
Councilmember Douglas.
Present.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
All right, thank you. I need a motion and a second to excuse the members not present. Councilmember Dare,
So moved.
Councilmember Dukes.
Second.
Okay, the motion on the floor is to excuse members not present. Will the city clerk take a roll call vote?
Your vote is open.
All right. Passes unanimously with the one absence. Okay, Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me in a moment of silence followed by a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, need a motion to adopt the agenda. Do any council member wish to amend the agenda? All right. Councilmember Dukes?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Okay. Need a motion and a second. Councilmember Dare?
Second.
All right, the motion on the floor is to adopt the agenda as present. Will the city clerk take the roll call vote?
Your vote is now open.
Okay, it passes 8 with 1 absent. Okay. All right, move to public comments. All public comments except for those in public hearings will occur now. If you're intending to comment about a public hearing on tonight's agenda, please refrain from doing so until the public comments for that particular hearing. Public comments shall be limited to 3 minutes. Persons registered to speak multiple times may speak multiple times. Council members may address public comment during the administrative council business. Will the city clerk call any virtual or in-person speakers, please?
Mayor, our first in-person speaker is going to be Frank Martinez.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of council. I am here to protest. I got a portable carport and I got a violation, gave me till the 3rd to take it down. And, it's not an eyesore. I've had it up for about 7 years, and all of a sudden now, it's coming to the attention that the code officer wants me to take it down. I've been a resident for 30 years here in Commerce City. I've owned my house down the road right here on 60th and Olive for 25 years. I've always pulled permits when I wanted to do something. And, so I asked the inspector, because I did an addition in 2016. And I had Howard Smith, the inspector, and I asked him, hey, I want to do me a portable carport, metal, steel. And he said, yeah, you don't need a permit for that. So I went ahead and ordered one, and it saved me thousands of dollars with hail and everything. Now my roof just got damaged big time, on the 30th with that hailstorm. So had my vehicle not been under there, it would have really been bad. So, I had a company truck, $11,000 of damages. How could I afford to pay that on my own vehicle, So that carport is really, it's saving me from a lot of money to incur costs for damages and stuff. And I've drove around since this happened. I've driven around, and there's a lot of them. Walmart has one. So if I got to take mine down, should Walmart have to take theirs down? Should all these other people, which they're really nice. Mine's not an eyesore. Just right on the corner of 60th and Olive, and it's been there for 7 years. And all of a sudden now, code enforcement telling me that it's not approved, and so I did. I do roofing, so I check codes and all that too. So I went back and I looked, and yeah, it was adopted for Commerce City, but was it before 2017? I think is when I did that. So I'm not sure, but I just want to plead my case, and that just it's really hard for me to take it down, because I just know that if a hailstorm or anything comes along, it's going to really mess up my property. And I got it bolted down. It's withstood winds, it's withstood snow, it's withstood everything all these years. So I just don't think it's fair that the code officer goes by and gives me till the 3rd to take it down. And I did get an extension, but that's why I'm here, just to plead my case and just ask City Council to consider, something like that. You can see it. It's when you drive by, it's not an eyesore. It's between my neighbor's house and my house, and pretty well protected. So
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
thank you for listening.
Just a second, Mr. Martinez. Any council members like to ask Mr. Martinez questions? Councilmember Ford?
Yeah, I think there's a process to go through with the administrative staff to get your information and look into your concerns. Because just coming here and letting us know, we're hearing what you have to say, but we don't make the ruling on that. That's going to be in the city codes, and that's up to the attorneys to decide if it's something that you would have to take down. But if you don't talk to them, then there's a chance that you're going to continue to get cited and be fined. So we want you to talk to the right appropriate people on the city staff so that you can find out what you can and can't do. And if it ends up going to the judge to make a ruling, then you'd have the opportunity to go and contest that at that time. But tonight, there's nothing that we can do if it's perceived how the law reads. You'd have to go to court and fight that when you would go to court, but I don't want to see you get continually fined for trying to rectify your problem. But reach out to the city staff. The assistant city manager is here, and they can get your information and help you out.
Okay, thank you. Yeah,
Thank you.
they just recommended I come and speak to
Yeah.
you guys, so I figured, hey, it's
Thanks
worth a
for
try.
coming
What the
in.
heck do I got to lose, right?
Mr.
Thank you, good
Martinez,
night.
was one more. Mr. Martinez? Mr. Martinez? Jim, we got one more, City Council. Councilmember Douglas?
No, you have one more person.
Oh,
Thank you so much for coming out, Mr. Martinez. And did I hear your first name was Bob?
Frank.
Frank, I'm sorry, I got that wrong. I wanted to make sure that I got it right. It looks like we are going to connect you with the right people tonight, but really appreciate you coming in, taking the time to come in and come forward and let us know what's going on so that we can try to at least help you resolve your issues. So I want to thank you for coming in, and I also recommend what Council Member Ford had said, but it looks like they're going to connect you tonight. So as long as that's done and you're on your way, but you know, if this isn't resolved, I think that you should feel like you are able to come back in again and voice your concerns. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Appreciate that. We're going to make sure the right people get to talk to you, okay?
Okay,
All
appreciate
right,
it.
thanks for coming in.
Thank you.
We got, there's names up here that are not associated with the person. Mayor Pro Tem has the wrong name. Thank you.
How about now, Mayor? Are we good?
Yes.
All right. Thank you very much.
Mayor, our next in-person speaker is going to be Jackie Valdez.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council, City staff. One of the things that I want to discuss tonight is I would like to thank the Commerce City Police Department for the good job that they have been doing. We have seen several officers out there ticketing the vehicles that are coming on to 68th from 70th in Colorado, which is a good thing because we have found out recently that animals are now getting hit over there. So I am very pleased with the police department and what they're doing. One of the other things that I wanted to discuss tonight is this ATV, these go-karts, and these mini bikes. I've come up here and I've discussed this many, many months with everyone. And I know the police department is doing everything they can to try to catch them. But the thing is even when they catch them, there's nothing they can do with them. You know, they can't give them a ticket. Well, if they do give them a ticket, then, you know, it's like, well, how are we going to impound them? There's no place to impound them. Again, my property is the prime example of what happens when things are not done correctly, when there's not things that are put in place. And so we need, as a community, as the city of Commerce City, we need to get something done. Because you are our authority. Cities are authority. And we depend on you. We depend on you to protect us as a city. And when we're not being protected, that's when I say we've got a problem. Okay? So, that's one of the things. Other thing is I've come and I've listened to council and I've listened to all the agendas. And I've seen where money's going from taxpayers. And I hear about parks. And I hear about the Bison Grill and all this money that's being spent. We are still sitting with holes in the road. We are still sitting with help with the elderly people in the neighborhoods of Commerce City, especially on the south side. And we've not gotten any assistance. I've called, I've asked, even about my fence. And I've been told we don't have the funding. We don't have the program. So how can we be a city and spend so much money on things that I think is frivolous, and yet we can't take care of the part of city that made Commerce City? We look horrible. And I'm not pleased to say anymore, and that's bad. I'm part of Commerce City, and I've been part of Commerce City for 55 years. I'm not proud to say I'm part of it anymore. And that's bad. And what's even worse is that I cannot come to my council or my city and say, hey, you know what? This is happening. We need to get this taken care of. We need to stick together as a group, and we need to help each other. I hear everybody say, oh, ask this person, ask this person, ask this person, and then when you ask, we can't help. So I'm asking tonight, we need help in the south side of Commerce City. We need with the roads, we need with the weeds, we need with our houses, we need the problems with these ATVs, we need the help. And as council, when I drive by and I see an ATV this large and a 10-year-old driving it, a 10-year-old driving this, and then proceeds to tell me that he lives over by Adams City and that he's racing up and down the school over there on the roads, on the track, and then over by our houses, they're racing up and down the roads. Yesterday, I encountered a lady that was kind of underneath the wind a little bit, had her daughter in one with her. She said the same thing. I live over there, but we come over here and I at least stop at the stop sign, she told me. Well, hooray for that. But you got your kid in the vehicle with you. You're not plated. You're racing up and down the road. And it does sound like you're a little under the weather there.
Ms.
So-
Valdez, would you want to wrap it up there? We'll give you an extra minute there.
What?
I said you've been given an extra minute, so can you wrap
Okay.
it up, please? Thank
You know, so we need to do something, you know, as far as the Bison Grill is concerned and the park that's supposed to be built up north, I'm happy for that. But what I want to know is how many times a month is my family and I going to be able to come up and get a free meal? Because it's on taxpayers. So that's what I want to know. You know, how, because we can't afford to go up and eat. We can't afford to get the gas to go up there to eat. So how many times a month are we going to be allowed to do that? That's one of the things I wanted to know about. Because we can't even afford to get our roads taken care of with all the holes. So just think about it, guys. You know, all the money we're spending when we could be spending it on other things, especially the people that make Commerce City. There's a lot more people that are older than I am
Well, thank
that
you,
need
Ms.
the help.
Thank you, Ms. Valdez. Does any council members have any questions for Ms. Valdez? Councilmember Douglas?
Yes, I don't have a question, but I really believe that we need to look into setting policy on these ATVs because they are, I mean, people are taking liberty with these vehicles, and I would hate to be the one that didn't see one of these kids, or it sounds like adult, on an ATV and be the one to be part of a tragic accident that should have never happened. So I believe as a council, we need to look into setting some kind of policy for this. And I think all of us should take your words to heart tonight. So thank you.
Thank you. You know, maybe even build a track for them, something for them to go play on, if that's what it's going to take. But we need to do something before somebody gets seriously hurt. And when I seen a 10-year-old driving it tonight, I was like, wow. And I even asked, who bought you that? And he said, my dad did. My dad bought it for me.
Well, I appreciate you. This is not the first time you've come in about this. We've heard it from other constituents as well. And then as far as the holes, unfortunately, some of those areas down on Colorado and Vasquez are owned by the state. So we are looking into taking over those portions of the road so we can make those repairs.
Well, and I really appreciate that because it's getting to the point where when you're coming down Brighton Boulevard, there's no place to go anymore.
Right.
Those trucks are so bad over there, you know, and there's so much weight on those trucks with Rocky Mountain Recycle that there's nowhere to go anymore. The other day, there was a semi coming again, and I had nowhere to go but to hit that pothole.
Right.
You know, and all I kept thinking is, God, please Don't let me lose control of this car. And at that time, I'm only doing 20 miles an hour. But even at 5 miles an hour, because I seen it on the news, lady hits it, part of the pothole comes up and goes into somebody else's window. You know, so all I'm doing is praying, don't let me lose control. You know, so we really have got to get a handle on a lot of things. And we're here depending on the city and the council to help us. That's what you guys are here for. Give us some ideas. Let us help out. Figure something out.
And I appreciate that. Jim Tolbert, could you address to see when that program is going to start for the helping citizens out with certain needs? Is that program going to start in August or September?
Mr. Mayor, thank you. We're working to try to get it going in August. It might be the first part of September. We're hiring the staff now that we're not going to use the Housing Authority to manage it, and we've got an RFP out for management. So hopefully we'll have those wrapped up this month and be able to get started.
Okay, appreciate that.
Thank you
for your time, Ms.
Yeah,
Bezos.
thank you.
Mayor Douglas, our next in-person speaker is Keith Rogers.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
You, Ms. Rogers.
Just wanted to let you know, a couple weeks ago, I heard on the radio, Commerce City's the worst place to live. So, spend $18 million on a golf course dining room that half of us can't afford to even look at. Let's do some improvement on street corners, the streets themselves, traffic signals, getting more law enforcement in. The reason Commerce City's got this reputation, one, started many years ago when there was the feedlots, the pig farms, the slaughterhouses, and then public service. That all came in. Mm-hmm. Now we have Thornton's water poop ponds over there. First thing they smell when they come to Commerce City. Right there, that turns everybody off from Commerce City. We've had a bad reputation from the word go. Instead of spending money on high lavish things and spending so much on parks, we need to improve everything else. Roads, houses, communication, getting these ATVs, mini bikes off the roads. The things backfire. They scare the dogs. They scare people with PTSD. Called Adams County last night on some major fireworks. They were right on it. Within 45 minutes, they were on scene taking their fireworks away and giving them a ticket. The phone call I made for in Commerce City, I never got a phone call back. 10 o'clock, they're still lighting them off. Okay, we've got to cut down on this. We need signs up saying they're illegal, there's fines, and get them up way before June. Thankfully, this year they've held off until just recently. I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I go to bed at 7:30. They wait until 9, 10 o'clock to start shooting fireworks off. Okay, now I've got 2 dogs trying to crawl under my skin to get away from the noise. We've got to do something about the fireworks as well. Main concern right now is with mini bikes. Because if somebody doesn't start taking care of stuff like this, the citizens are going to take care of it. Talk to numerous other people in the neighborhood. They don't even bother to call the police department because it doesn't do any good. They never show up. Or it takes them 2 to 4 hours to show up. Yeah, we're shorthanded, I understand that. We very seldom ever see a cop car over there. South Side needs some help. We are the poorest section of Commerce City, and we get nothing.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Hold on a sec, Mr. Rogers. Does any council meeting would like to address Mr. Rogers? Councilmember Douglas?
I just want to thank you as well for coming forward and bringing forward your concerns so that we can listen and do something about it. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Mr. Rogers, later on in the agenda, our chief is going to give us an update of what's going to be going on with the fireworks, as far as fines, as far as level of service. So if you're around for that, I appreciate if you listen. But thank you very much for coming in. I take your concerns very, very serious.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I was also in the queue.
Oh,
sorry.
sorry about that. Councilmember Chacon?
I just wanted to thank you for coming out. It puts it in perspective, honestly, how the South Side needs to be prioritized, and a lot of other spending has been performative. So I really thank you for coming out and voicing your opinion and being here to hold us accountable, and also to the ones that have been here before as well. I hear you, and I'm hoping that our city can work in a way that we can fund programs and grants that actually see the infrastructure for disproportionately impacted communities. So thank you.
Yeah, our little park has got a picnic table in it. We're happy with it. That's all we've got over there. We're not asking for anything special.
Yeah.
We just want some improvements.
Especially to say quality of Commerce City for a lifetime, and then to be called the worst city. So I thank you for putting that in perspective to hold us.
Yeah, I was raised and born here. I'm ashamed to say I'm from Commerce City.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers.
Mayor Douglas, that is all of our comments tonight.
All right, thank you. Members of the public were able to submit written comments online. By mail, written comments were not received by the deadline. If a follow-up is necessary, you should be expected to be contacted by a staff member. All right, on to proclamations. Parks and Recs Month. I'll invite the city clerk to read the proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas parks and recreation programs are an integral part of communities throughout this country, including Commerce City, and whereas our parks and recreation are vitally important to establishing and maintaining the quality of life in our communities, ensuring the health of all citizens, and contributing to the economic and environmental well-being of a community, and whereas parks and recreation programs build healthy, active communities that aid in the prevention of chronic disease, provide therapeutic recreation services for individuals with diabetes or disabilities, and also improve the mental and emotional health of all citizens, and whereas parks and recreation areas are fundamental to the environmental well-being of our community, and whereas our parks and natural recreation areas ensure the ecological beauty of our community and provide a place for children and adults to connect with nature and recreate outdoors, and whereas the U.S. House of Representatives has designated July as Parks and Recreation Month, and whereas the City of Commerce City recognizes the benefits derived from parks and recreation resources. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of Commerce City hereby proclaim that July 2024 is recognized as Parks and Recreation Month, and Commerce City encourages all citizens to share the individual benefits that come from parks and recreation.
Thank you. I need a motion and a second to approve the proclamation. Councilmember Chacon?
I make a motion to approve.
Okay. Councilmember Dara?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Councilmember Teeter? Councilmember Dukes?
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank you for the work you do across our city. As a father of three and being able to access the parks and access the opportunities across our city, I just want to just say thank you. It's well served, and it gives our city a sense of pride. They're always picked up, they're always clean, they're always well maintained, and so I appreciate it firsthand. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Dare?
Yeah, I just want to echo that. I think we have some of the best parks in the metro area. You know, I go see the Parks and Rec crew cleaning up all the parks that I go to. They're always doing excellent work, and, you know, you go to City Park and half the time that's overgrown and no one cleaned it up. So, you know, this is one of the bright spots in our community, and, you know, I just want to make sure that we acknowledge our Parks and Rec crew.
Thank you. Councilmember Douglas?
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you as well. I am very proud of our Parks and Rec department because of everything that you do for the city. Music in the Park last week at Frontera Park. There's another one coming up next week or in 2 weeks at Pioneer Park. We had over 600 people come to Music in the Park in Commerce City. And that was amazing to me. Everyone had a fabulous time. The park looked beautiful, and I was just so proud to have been a part of that, and proud to be a part of the Cultural Council because that's where Music in the Park started. So just a big shout out and thank you to all of you in that department for all you do.
Yes, and I want to thank the Parks and Recs as well for all what you guys do. Been living in the city for 20 years now. We've added a lot of parks, and also we've added new parks in the south as well. Veterans Park, Monocle Park's being redone now. A golf course, great place. People always come on a golf course because of the service and the price, but also the people too. I mean, you know, you guys are the face of our city. When you're out there working, you're the first person someone's going to see and speak to. They're not going to come here. They're going to talk to you. And I have not heard anything bad about our Parks and Recs not taking the time to answer people's questions or help somebody out. So I really appreciate the work you guys have done. Thank you. Councilmember Ford?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just want to thank the Parks Department. You guys are doing a great job. Since 1990, when I was with Public Works, there are only a few people that I recognize in the audience that are from the Parks Department. Tony Jaramillo, there's a few others. But at the end of the day, you guys do a good job. Our parks look good. And, you know, we need to keep up the image of Commerce City. You heard some of the residents get up and speak. It's important that we have nice streets. It's important that our parks look good. It's important our community looks good. And it's just as important that it's safe. So you guys are doing your part. I want to get all the other departments doing their part. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
Thank you. Really, this shouldn't just be a month, and it isn't just a month because it's 12 months a year that we rely on Parks and Rec, and that includes the recreation centers. So many people go to the recreation centers and they're thriving. So thank you all for what you do, and we're glad to be celebrating you this month.
All right, seeing no one else. Okay, the motion on the floor is to approve the proclamation. Will the city clerk take a roll call vote, please?
Your vote is open.
Okay, that passes unanimous 8 with 1 excused absence. All right, next is Minority Mental Health Awareness Month. I will invite Councilmember Dukes to read this, to start out with the proclamation.
Thank you, Mayor. Whereas a sense of belonging and inclusion in communities is vital for the well-being and mental health of BIPOC, which stands for Black, Indigenous, and People of Color individuals, and
Whereas community-led spaces such as cultural hubs, areas in which people of a specific cultural background have come together to live, provide services, or connect with one another, are vital sources of belonging that promote overall mental health and wellness, and
Whereas connection with one's culture and community is key to supporting overall mental health, individuals who have strong connections to their communities have better mental health outcomes, including lower rates of suicide, violence, and feelings of isolation, and
whereas no one knows a community better than those within the community itself. In order to move toward a more mentally healthy future, community-led action must be prioritized and sustained, and
Whereas advocating for mentally healthy environment must prioritize all access. Strong community support requires an overall understanding that every person is deserving of healthy environment as a role in the wellness of those around them. Now therefore be resolved that the City Council of Commerce City hereby designate July 2024 as B.B. Moore Campbell National Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, and encourage residents to increase awareness and understanding of BIPOC mental health, the steps our citizens can take to protect their mental health through community-led action and organizing, and need for appropriate and accessible service for all BIPOC people with mental health conditions. Thank you. Let's see. I need a motion and a second to approve the proclamation. Councilmember Chacon?
I make a motion to approve.
Councilmember Madera?
second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Councilmember Dukes?
thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just want to just I'm glad we were able to read this proclamation and just encourage communities of color and minority communities to speak out, to talk through your challenges, talk to people. This is often things that we carry, but we don't share with folks. And so I just want to put that out there. This is an important month for me. It's an important month for a number of folks, and it's important to share what you're carrying and what you're feeling. So just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Douglas?
Yes, I just wanted to say that I am really proud to serve on such a diverse council and to see the city, the staff here to become so diversified just in the last few years. And it's pretty amazing to me. I'm old, and I'm really glad that I'm still living to see this kind of change occur, because I remember what it was like when I was a little kid. And I tell you what, people were not afraid to express their feelings in the white community about how they felt about people who weren't of that culture. And when you're raised that way, it becomes ingrained in your DNA. And unfortunately, that's happened across our country. And I can't wait for things to continue to change, but I am so glad that I'm here right now to be able to see the change start happening. So to have this proclamation read by so many people who sit on this dais and also are serving us as part of the staff is amazing to me. So thank you. This has touched my heart, and I really appreciate the fact that this proclamation has been passed.
Councilmember Chacon?
Thank you, Councilmember Douglas. I wanted to highlight especially this one. There's a lot of mental health impacts and cumulative impacts in so many spaces that we live, especially when we talk about environmental injustice. So I deal with this in a lot of ways. And I also deal with it as a teacher. The youngest I've ever worked with that had suicidal ideations was 8 years old. It knows no age, it knows no race, it knows no space. And we really need to look at each other, and when we need help, be able to go to those safe and brave spaces to be able to talk about yourself and that you are needed. I'm really grateful for such a large population of veterans that we also have in Commerce City. Same thing, they deal with so many cumulative impacts, especially older ones with age and now transitioning into other workforces. I'm really grateful for the community that we have here, and I would like to hopefully hear from the North and South in our community how proud they are to see our staff reflected in this way with this type of transformative narrative. So I thank you for those that brought this proclamation forward and to be a part of this space. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, this is, I'm glad this came before us. It's been difficult living in Colorado. Been here all my life, and being elected first black mayor says a lot for Commerce City, for our community, mental health, systemic racism, cultural insensitivity, economic disparity, creating an environment where mental health issues can thrive. But without us all working together, this would not happen. So I appreciate the opportunity for all of us to share this proclamation. Sometimes it's a struggle, so I appreciate that. Thank you. So, all right. The motion on the floor is to approve the proclamation. Will the city clerk take a roll call vote, please?
Your vote is open.
Okay, that passes 8, 1 absence. So I invite the city council forward to take pictures along with our Parks and Recs department. Please come forward. Thank you.
Let's get a couple more on this side just to even it out. Here, there we go.
I'll go upstairs.
Two more. All right, and one more. Good to go. Oh, yeah. I was like,
All right. Thank you for everybody's participating. All right. Got the wrong one. Sorry. Okay, the consent agenda includes items that are routine, procedural, informational, self-explanatory, and non-controversial. These items are presented to council for a single motion and vote. Any council member may ask to remove a specific item off the consent agenda for further discussion and a separate vote. Tonight, there are 7 items on the consent agenda. Do any council member wish to remove any items? Okay. Need a motion, a second to approve the consent agenda as presented. Councilmember Ford?
So move.
Councilmember Teeter? Okay, the motion on the floor is to approve the consent agenda as presented. Will the city clerk read the title and take a roll call vote?
Minutes of the June 3rd, 2024 regular meeting. Minutes of the June 17th, 2024 regular meeting. Resolution 2024-081, a resolution amending council policy number CP-2 to revise and clarify the process for council report outs. Resolution 2024-082, a resolution amending council policy number CP-22 to revise testimony time allocation and orders of testimony for parties in quasi-judicial hearings. Resolution 2024-083, a resolution amending council policy number CP-23 to revise conduct of business at study sessions to explicitly allow the extension of a study session meeting by way of city council vote. Ordinance 2591, an ordinance to utilize available funds to redeem, pay, and discharge all of the outstanding certificates of participation, Series 2017B. Ordinance 2594, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget of the City of Commerce City by recognition of a portion of the city's opioid settlement funds received to date in the amount of $19,688 and the authorization of the expenditure thereof. And your vote is now open.
That passes unanimously, 8 with 1 excused absence. Thank you. All right, moving on to public hearings. CUP 24-001 Stout Street Foundation. Tonight's public hearing will be on a conditional use permit for the Stout Street Foundation located at 7251 East 49th Avenue and 7201 East 49th Avenue to allow inpatient substance abuse treatment facility. I will remind council of the following. Only ask questions and gather facts, but not express your opinion or indicate how you will vote. You're not permitted to provide testimony if you wish to participate in the decision. Only rely on facts developed in this hearing and in the record, and apply those facts to criteria in the Land Development Code. I will invite the city attorney to address the council.
Is there any council member who cannot hear this matter and make a determination fairly and impartially based on the record before you and the facts and evidence as developed at the public hearing? The record will reflect that no member of council has indicated an inability to be fair and impartial. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I will now open the public hearing. I will invite the applicant to make a presentation.
Good evening.
And then you can hit this panel right here.
Oh, there we go. Good evening. I'm Robin Winters. I'm the Director of Development over at the Stout Street Foundation. Thanks for the opportunity for us to come and give you a presentation this evening. 3 things that we really kind of want to just hit home this evening about what we do that's such a power partner of being invested in this city. We've been here for quite a while now. So we're substance use residential treatment, but we're not just recovery treatment. We're also a big part of workforce development and an alternatives to jail. And I'm going to let Brad come up and talk, or I guess Cheryl can come up and talk a little bit about our treatment and what our program entails.
Well, good evening. My name is Cheryl Wells. I'm the CEO and president of the Stout Street Foundation. And we are a 3-tiered program. People come to us for help with their substance use disorders. We have phases that they go through so that we can make sure that they are returned back into the community safe and healthy. The first 30 days is orientation where they learn about our program. The next 17 months of their program, they live with us. We teach them skills in maladaptive schemas, relapse prevention. We do a lot of work with our clientele in teaching them vocational skills. And once they're done with that part of the program, they move on to the aftercare phase, which is 6 months living in our sober living house, where they are back in the community, being productive citizens, working, staying clean and sober, and giving back to the community.
We have a pretty comprehensive interview and background check process. And that's an important thing to note right now because there are a lot of facilities that are popping up around here and you're not seeing any of those situations happening within our facility. We've been here for a long time and we're very stable in the work that we're doing. I'm going to let one of our residents now come up and talk about the day in the life of a resident.
Good evening. My name is Eric Emery. I am a resident at Stout Street Foundation. I've been there the last 17 months. I will be transitioning to the aftercare program this weekend on Saturday. I was also recently hired on into the development office as a development coordinator at Stout Street. Day in the life at Stout Street, we are a self-sustaining internal community. We have no janitorial service. We have no outside kitchen service. We are the janitors. We are the kitchen service. We are the peers who support each other through our recovery. Yes, we have the opportunity to work with our individual clinicians on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis, but the majority of the work done is peer-based, peer-led through our groups that we have at least twice a week, through our daily interactions, whether that's in our support groups, classes, work together, whether on-site or off-site, and just general socialization. It's been an amazing process for me. It is helping me save my life. I was on a very dark downward spiral before entering Stout Street, and I have a very bright future ahead of me. I am enrolled at MSU currently, completing a bachelor's degree, and as I said, I'm gainfully employed at Stout Street and transitioning to aftercare and looking forward to the rest of my life. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Brad Lucero. I'm the Executive Director of Stout Street Foundation. I wanted to just briefly touch base on our vocational training aspect. I think is one of the pieces that really makes Stout Street a very unique program. We've been lucky enough to call Commerce City our home for the last 20 years. And in that time, we've worked really hard to build relationships with other businesses in the community. And so we have partnerships where our residents are able to go out and work at these individual job sites. There's no cost for these individuals to come into our program. All of their room and board and treatment fees are covered from working these outside contracts. And so we've been able to develop these relationships with places like Food Bank of the Rockies, lots of like-minded organizations. Springback, Colorado is right across the street from us, another nonprofit that is interested in helping folks get another chance. And so I just wanted to make sure that we put emphasis on how big that is. This is an organization that's been around for 48 years. We pride ourselves on not being takers. We pride ourselves on giving back to the community. And that's a huge aspect of why we've been able to be here and as successful as we have been for so long. Appreciate you guys' time tonight, and thank you so much for having us.
And another thing is the alternatives to jail. So 60 to 70% of our residents are stipulated to complete the program in lieu of a jail and prison sentence. We have a whole legal department there. Really, we aspire to have individuals be able to get out of Stout Street and not have that jail sentence be hanging over them, where they have opportunities to be productive and stable and get careers and go on to do amazing things. Giving back was one of those things we talked about. That includes our staff. This is me as Director of Development. I go and give touch base with Food Bank as one of our vocational partners all the time. And then I was with the volunteer group that came in one day. I thought, I'm going to go over and I'm going to volunteer and really see what they do over there. And when I was working on the floor, I was talking to my group about what we do at Stout Street. And one of the managers on the floor heard me talking about that I was the new director over there. She came running over. She said, "Oh my gosh, are you with Stout Street?" And I said, "Yeah." And she said, she started to cry and said, "I got my children back. I just got married. I have a good job. I'm alive. And I have all that to thank for Stout Street." And I told my group, I said, I could talk all day long, but I think you just learned what we do at Stout Street.
Mm-hmm.
So there's many stories like that. I'm so blessed that I get to tell those stories as the Director of Development. And we'll leave this open now for questions and answers for anyone that might have some.
Thank you. Do any council members have questions for the applicant? Councilmember Douglas.
Thank you. What happens when someone doesn't adhere to your rules and policies and they they violate?
We don't just kick them out. So basically, there's rewards and consequences for anyone that is not following rules. So if they're not adhering, if they're on probation, we definitely do collaboration with probation departments and our team to make sure that we can help this individual to get to a better place. If it's just not a fit, we definitely do soft handoffs to places that are a good fit for that individual.
And how do these people come to you?
Through probation, parole, walk-ins, referrals, soft handoffs to us.
And how long do they usually stay? I think it was in the information, but I
We are a
can't remember what
two-year
it said.
program.
Two-year
The first
program?
18 months, they stay in our facility located in Commerce City. The last 6 months, they move over to our sober living house, which is located in downtown Denver.
In downtown Denver. So they live at South Street
Yes.
then? And are they required to take part like in the cooking and cleanup and?
Everything.
Everything? And so do they do their own janitorial work then? Very good. Okay. All right, thank you. I think that's all the questions I have for you.
Thank you. Councilmember Teeter?
Yes, I've had the privilege of listening to Ms. Robin Winters speak at the Chamber's meetings, and also I've had the privilege of helping them out with the fundraiser at Rotary. So I probably need to ask the city attorney, am I still going to be able to vote since I heard them, because I didn't declare it before?
So you heard them speak about this matter?
Yes, about their foundation at Stout Street.
So I think there's a difference between them speaking about the foundation and them speaking specifically to the hearing before this body, which is for a conditional use permit. If you did not hear any evidence or presentations about the conditional use permit, then I would not think that's an ex parte communication. If you did, however, then we should have a further conversation about.
No,
Okay.
okay, she was just basically explaining how it works.
I appreciate you asking the question. Thank you.
And that's, anyway, thank you guys for your service, and that's all I have.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
Thank you for describing the program. It sounds fantastic, and I appreciate that it's here in Commerce City. Is it male and female?
Yes, it is co-ed.
And is there a cost to those who are at Stout Street?
No cost.
No cost. All right. Thank you. Oh, and what happens when they're released? They're released to the sober living downtown as opposed to released in the area?
So they have to finish the treatment program. That last 6 months is going to the sober living.
All right.
And once they're done with the sober living, they should be at a really good place in their life where they can go and live in another sober living or get their own place and continue with thriving in life.
It looks like it with all the programs you offer. Thank you.
Any other council members? Councilmember Douglas?
Yes, I have one more question regarding how you're supported financially. Are you very well funded, that you have a budget that's well managed every year?
I'll hop in on that one. Yes, ma'am. So we have the vocational training aspect that I was describing earlier. The individual companies have contracts with Stout Street directly. So when our residents are part of our program, they're considered indigent because they have no income coming in. The funds that are raised then come back to help offset room and board and treatment fees. The funds that don't cover our monthly bills is why we started the fundraising department in 2006, was to help offset some of those additional costs. So we do write grants. We were lucky enough to just be awarded some funds from the Adams County opioid funds, which is right up our alley and exactly what we do. So essentially, yes, we have enough to keep the lights on. Obviously, not helicopter money, but enough to do everything that we need to and make sure that we have a safe place for our residents.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the answer.
Councilmember Dukes?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question around looking at just the conditional use permit. The question around, I think it's I, or number 1A, I guess, or A1, is that how we're reading it? When we talk about the proposed use will not result in undue effect, adjunct property, the character of the neighborhood or conditions and parking. Can you talk about the process? So if a neighbor has a complaint or a challenge, what's the process to either rectify or talk with the neighborhoods and make sure that's concern is taken care of? And I ask that because of that specific criteria, but also looking at the packet, it shows like there's a number of police are called in the area because of the medical challenge, mostly medical in nature, right? So question is like, is that on your property or is that next door or is that, and then what is the process for like working with the neighborhood if there are any issues, the neighboring properties?
Sure. Thankfully, we're located is, as lucky as we could have been as far as not having any sort of residential area around us. Everything nearby is warehouses and whatnot. We have a great rapport with all of our neighbors. So Sapp Brothers directly, what would that be, south of us? Any of the companies, we've never ran into a situation where there's been issues asked of our residents. We do have a decent homeless population. So going back to the police contact calls, I don't know that there's a direct cause because of Stout Street being there, right? When we took over the building, it was a failing hotel that it had turned into one of those 1999 a night type areas. And so I've heard multiple feedback from the police department that contacts have gone down since we moved in the spirit of being pro-social and everything that we stand for there. So I believe that we're great neighbors, and we provided letters in the packet to show that everyone supports us being there.
Yeah, thank you. And just to follow up, like no doubt about great neighbors. I'm thinking about the process itself. Like if there is an issue,
sure,
what is the process to rectify that issue if there is an issue with any of the neighbors?
Quite honestly, I would imagine it would entail Cheryl and I discussing bringing it to our board members. We meet, or the board meets once a month, and then just kind of having a conversation about what the concern is, the issue, as long as it's nothing that doesn't seem overly reasonable. But we would do our best to accommodate where possible.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Councilmember Chacon?
Thank you for the work that you do. My brother actually suffered with substance abuse all of his life and died at 45 in Skid Row in LA. So this is very personal. I am curious, do you do houseless relative outreach because of that? Or do you work in any way with houseless relatives because it's getting worse in so many spaces?
Yeah, could you repeat the
Do you
question?
work with houseless relatives, or do you do houseless relative outreach, where you can work with communities that are homeless?
Did you say houseless?
Yeah.
We, with anyone that's in need of substance abuse disorder treatment, that's mostly what we get are the indigents and the homeless people that come to us.
The Salvation Army that moved into the Best Western right off of I-70 in Quebec, we've gone over to their facility several times to make sure that they knew where we were at and knew specifically the services that we could offer. Obviously, we're not for everybody, and we're wanting to make sure that those folks who are, quite frankly overrun, at least know that we're here and these are the potential credentials for folks that we would be looking at as potential candidates. And so we've been building those relationships with them. We also work with the AIDS Center in downtown Denver to make sure that we have all of our information there. We have a person on site weekly so that they're meeting these folks face to face to be able to offer them the services that we have. And certainly if it's a situation where they're not for our program, we have a vast network of folks where we're able to reach out and try to get them in a position to be successful.
Awesome. Thank you for the work that you do. Do you work with any type of like transformative education or cultural responsive? The reason I say that is while my brother was in prison, they helped establish a sweat lodge in Canyon City for indigenous communities because there were so many that were houseless in that space and then went to prison. Do you work in that kind of space where there's cultural, just responsiveness to the populations?
We are open to diversity. And so we do have different populations that come to our facility. And what we try to do is make them feel as welcoming as we possibly can, and that we're not diverting them from what they do or what they have done all of their lives. So we work with anyone that comes in. And we do have a population of all kinds of individuals that have belief systems and different things that they want to continue in their lives with, and we try to work with them with that.
Thank you for the compassionate work you do. Thank you for your answers too.
All right, I have a question on this conditional use permit that you're seeking. How long have you been without, so let me back up. When did this expire?
I believe 2017 was when it expired. I had reached out to the city at the beginning of this year. We're licensed by the Behavioral Health Administration. They requested a zoning letter from Commerce City, so I reached out. And at that point, I think the city planner, as well as Stout Street, went through a leadership change a few years ago. And that combined with COVID just got lost in translation. So there was no notifications or anything that were ignored. It was just a simple piece where I think the city didn't realize, and we also didn't realize that it had happened. And so once we identified that had happened, then we just went through all the process of trying to do this exactly the way we needed to make sure that we could be here for the foreseeable future.
Okay,
This is our
appreciate
home.
that.
Yeah.
I was reading that. I was going to ask that question to make sure
Yeah.
if that was
No,
correct.
I essentially told on us inadvertently that it was something that had got missed, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Appreciate
thank
that.
you.
That's why you're here. And, you know, we've been having an influx of homeless people coming to the area. And what's the process if someone comes in, he's homeless and needs treatment? Do you turn them away, or do they have to go somewhere before they come to you?
Never do we turn them away. If it's someone coming to us and they are houseless and they're needing treatment, we do have an intake process. And if they're needing detox, we will transport them to detox, and we will pick them up from detox and bring them back to us. So it's not a matter of if we'll turn them away, it's if they'll be welcome to go through the process of the intake with us to come into our program.
Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. Councilmember Dukes?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick question. So when we talk about the assurance of maintenance, I mean, it's a big building, and can you talk through your process for just ensuring the upkeep of the building and the campus itself, I guess?
Sure, yeah, so we're a 501c3 nonprofit. We do a ton of capital improvement fundraising efforts. And so our board annually will try to put together kind of a priority list, right? With safety concerns obviously being number one, and then working our way down to, cosmetic and stuff like that. That is one of those pieces that we would love to get to as quickly as we can. HVAC, to your point, the building is old. And so we're doing our best as funds come available to address those needs. But certainly the safety concerns come first, and to make sure that we're having a building that is safe for all of our residents that come and be in our care.
All right, thank you. Appreciate that. I will invite Nathan Chavez, City Planner, to make a presentation.
I just also want to say real quick, thank you for all the insightful questions, but at some point, we would love to have a day where any of you come over and we could go as a group. Please come tour our campus and learn more about what we do as your neighbor and power partner in this community. We're seeing substance use disorder like no other in our history. It's really important what work we provide for the community. Come. Let's have a tour day. Come find out more about what we do.
I appreciate that. Sorry I didn't give you time to reflect. Yes.
Good evening, council members. The applicant, Stout Street Foundation, is requesting approval of a conditional use permit, or CUP, for an inpatient residential substance abuse treatment facility. Stout Street is a 501c3, which operates as a drug and alcohol rehabilitation center and has operated at this location since 2003. Stout Street's previous CUP has expired, and a new one is now required. Please note that there are no changes to the operations with this application. The property is located south of I-270 in the southern portion of Commerce City, surrounded primarily by industrial uses. The property is zoned I-1S for Industrial Park Storage District. Per the Land Development Code, an inpatient residential substance abuse treatment facility requires a CUP. This is an aerial that was taken on August 16th, 2023. For context, to the south is Sapp Brothers, and the Sand Creek and Sand Creek Trail borders to the northeast of the subject property. The following photos were taken April 23rd of this year. This photo in particular is from the corner of East 49th Avenue and Pontiac Street. And it shows both the residential portion and the administrative portion of Stout Street Foundation. And this is a photo from the Sand Creek Trail, and it is the backside of the administrative building for Stout Street. On April 23rd of this year, a neighborhood meeting was held at Stout Street in which no members of the public attended. And then the Planning Commission heard this CUP on June 4th, just last month, in which there was no public comment, and the Planning Commission voted 4-0 to recommend approval before this body. The CUP has been reviewed by all relevant DRT agencies, such as Planning, Adams County Health Department, South Adams County Fire Department, and the Commerce City Police Department. And staff has found that the application meets the approval criteria outlined within section 21-3230, and an analysis of all the approval criteria may be found within your staff report, and staff is happy to discuss any of the specific approval criteria as requested by City Council. So lastly, staff has noted the following items for consideration by council. Stout Street has occupied the property since 2003 and has rehabilitated an old hotel. The property is well kept and the owner takes corrective action when necessary. The Commerce City Police Department has provided calls for service data since 2019, and this data illustrates an annual decrease in the amount of calls for the facility. And lastly, the proposed CUP meets the comprehensive plan goals and objectives. Actually, lastly, there are no proposed changes to the operations and no conditions are proposed with this conditional use permit. Staff is now available to answer any questions. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Any council members have questions for staff? Okay, seeing none. We'll now invite the public to provide testimony. We welcome your comments and input to ensure efficient hearing. All persons are required to observe the following. Each person desired to speak must have registered with the city clerk. When you're recognized to speak, please approach the podium and state your name, address, and record for the record before providing testimony. All comments and testimony shall be made from the podium, and no comments or testimony shall be presented from the audience. Comments and testimonies are to be directed to the mayor and the city council. Dialogue, inquiries to the members of the staff or a seated audience is not permitted. Inquiries that require staff response will be referred to the staff by the mayor. It is our desire to hear all relevant testimonies on this topic in a timely manner and within atmosphere of respect. Our procedures are designed to ensure that occurs. Speakers, please state your name, address for the record, and whether you support or oppose the case before providing testimony. Please keep your comments limited to 3 minutes. Thank you for your cooperation. We look forward to hearing your comments. I will ask the city clerk to call on those who register to speak.
Mayor Douglas, we have one virtual speaker, and that'd be Stephanie Siner. If you could raise your hand. Okay, you'll have 3 minutes once you begin, Stephanie. Stephanie, can you hear us? Mayor, give us 1 sec. Do you want to see if she... Zoom? So it shouldn't be that. Microphones. Zoom's at 84? Yeah. It should be an audio.
You see Stephanie side around the line, or?
We do. I believe we're having some audio issues right now.
Okay. I'll give her another minute.
We can now, Stephanie, but we're having a hard time getting you through our speaker system in here. Give me just a moment. I don't know how I'm gonna do this. Mayor, for some reason, we're not able to get Zoom audio through the chambers.
Okay.
I am not sure how to proceed because I've not had this issue before.
Well, I'd say thank you for trying.
If you'd like, Mayor, we could take a 5-minute recess to try and get IT to correct the issue, but right now, we're not able to do anything to fix it on our end, unfortunately.
City Attorney?
I think that's entirely fine. If you want to have a recess, the hearing, just to be clear, is still open.
Okay. All right, we're going to take a recess for 5 minutes.
Can she phone in?
Are you though?
You cannot play.
Somehow we got it fixed. Give us just a moment to reconvene and then we'll get your comments. Thank you for being patient.
Thank you. Uh-huh.
We will continue. Thank you.
All right, Stephanie, we're going to try this one more time. You'll have 3 minutes once you begin.
All right, thank you. Good evening, members of council. I hope you can hear me now. Okay, good. Stephanie Steiner. I sit on the Stout Street Foundation board, a proud member to been on the board now over 2 years, and happy to be here before you all to get this permit. So no specific comments directly, just here as board support for our staff. They do a great job in all the work that they do, and we're proud to be a member of Commerce City and a part of the community, and want to know that we're going to continue to be here and continue to make Commerce City thrive and provide necessary care for our population that's in need of treatment. So that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Snyder. Okay.
And then Mayor Douglas, we have one more in-person speaker, and that's going to be Renee Bullock.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, mayors, city council. My name is Renee Bullock, executive director of the Commerce City Chamber of Commerce. I'm here to speak on behalf of Stout Street. Stout Street has been an asset and a wonderful member of this community for over 20 years. There hasn't been an event in the last 20 years that volunteers from Stout Street haven't sent service to help set up, take down, from Derby days back in the time to events we've had within the last year. Stout Street has always been that asset and that community group that you could always count on. There's a lot of famous people in the metro area that have gone through the Stout Street program that would, you would say that without this program, we would have a failure. Stout Street is Commerce City, and Commerce City is Stout Street, and they are a proud member of the Commerce City Chamber of Commerce. I would like to ask you to grant this CUP and make Stout Street still a great member of Commerce City. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, I don't know if I need to ask you if you want to any rebuttal, because it doesn't seem like you've been contested there. City Attorney?
The applicant can still make a statement if they so choose.
All right, would you like to make a statement? Stout Street? Brad? I think we're good. Okay. All right, appreciate that. Thank you very much. Okay. I will now close the public hearing. I need a motion to second to approve CUP 24-001. Is there any discussion? Oh, sorry. Need a motion second. Sorry. Councilmember Teeter.
I move for approval of CUP 24-001. Council is seated.
Councilmember Ford. Okay, is there any discussion? Councilmember Madera.
Yeah, I think, the programming that Stout Street provides is crucial to our community, and, I wish there's more of you guys because we definitely need it. Right now, like you said, substance abuse is an all-time high. We don't have a detox center in Adams County anymore, ever since Washington House closed just a little bit further north on 74th. So, really appreciate the work that you guys are doing, and I've heard nothing but good things about Stout Street and your foundation. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Dukes.
I just want to also just echo Councilmember Madera about just the work you do. Having the facility here in Commerce City and the opportunity for people to get back on their feet, it's priceless. One thing I'll love to think through in the future is how do we work closer together to have more workforce here in the city, and then also thinking about the transition. I know housing and attainable housing is hard, so as they move from your facility to another, it's still probably a challenge, which, as you know, triggers different emotions and a sense of fear. And so I'd love to think through how we can support to make sure they stay out and stay so they can thrive. Folks that are experiencing challenges can thrive. So thank you for all your work you're doing.
Thank you. Councilmember Ford.
Thank you, Mayor. When it comes to Stout Street, I remember when they came into our community and acquired the hotel. And after all of the years of having Stout Street there, at first I was a little reluctant. I was concerned that it would create problems. I happened to work in between the Comfort Inn and the old Best Western that are over there by I-70, not too far from your facility. And I see a lot of bad things in the area. A lot of people that are homeless, a lot of people with mental illness. But in all the years, the events that you've sent people out to help with, and all the years that I've been with this city, I haven't received any complaints at all about Stout Street or about your clientele. And I like that, and I think that the work that you do is good. It's a good partnership that the community has with you. And, several years ago, I tried to get my sister to put my nephew into Stout Street. And within 2 weeks of that discussion, he had an overdose and died. And I wish that he would have had that opportunity. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you. Councilmember Douglas.
Thank you. What you just said, Councilmember Ford, is quite shocking. Took me back because I also had a nephew from out of state that Stout Street was willing to take in. And fortunately, he got to stay in the state of Minnesota to recover and get back on his feet. It breaks my heart to hear about your loss because it could have been prevented. So I was a member of the Commerce City Business and Professional Association. It was an all-volunteer organization that made it a couple years past 50 years, but I served on the board in several different positions. I was honored to serve as its president for a while. And any event that I looked to put on, all I had to do was call Stout Street, and they showed up. Everyone was so professional and kind and would do whatever you asked and so willing to help and work hard, and they did. And so my experience with Stout Street is nothing but special to me. So I'm surprised that this expired in 2017, but I'm glad we caught it so that hopefully with everyone's blessing that you can continue on. Thank you.
Councilmember Ford?
Yeah, thanks. One thing that wasn't mentioned that I think is really important, the program at Stout Street, the first thing that they teach their residents is to make their bed and take care of their hygiene. And they start from scratch and they rebuild these people. And it shows. You look at the young folks that the one gentleman that got up and spoke. A lot of the clientele turn out to be very productive, good human beings, good part of our society. And I think a lot of it has to do with the structure. You're welcome to be there and you're welcome to quit anytime. But if you don't quit, you have the chance of changing your life. So thank you for what you do.
All right, and I want to say that my time on council from 2011, 2019, we spent a lot of time, different events. And remember, Stout Street had golf tournament, several golf tournaments and all that to raise money. And I have visited your facility, but not under the new management. I would love to partake in that. And, you know, and you're here for a conditional use permit, and I appreciate you guys looking for the future and looking to future-proof your citizens there who depend on you. So thanks for coming here and looking out for them, because we all know they need this more than they know. All right. Okay. The motion on the floor is to approve conditional use permit, CUP 24-001. Will the city clerk take a roll call vote?
Your vote is open.
All right, passes 8 unanimously with 1 excused absence. Thank you. Congratulations. All right, on to ordinance. Ordinance on first reading, reappropriation of remaining donation and grant balance. Do any council members have questions for staff? I'm sorry, back that up. Ordinance 2603, reappropriation of remaining donation and grant balance. Do any council members have questions for staff? All right, seeing none, I need a motion and a second to introduce ordinance 2603 by council as seated and approve on first reading. Councilmember Dukes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 2603.
Councilmember Madera.
Second.
All right, is there any discussion? The motion on the floor is to introduce ordinance 2603 by council as seated and approved on first reading. Will the city clerk read the title and take a roll call vote?
Ordinance 2603, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by reappropriating remaining donation and grants balances in the general fund, police donation fund, and grants fund totaling $202,154.60 and authorizing the expenditure thereof. Your vote is now open.
Okay, that passes 8 with one excused absence. All right, on to ordinance 2604 DUI enforcement grant. Do any council members have questions for staff? I need a motion second to introduce ordinance 2604 by council as seated and approve on first reading. Councilmember Dukes?
I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 2604.
Councilmember Chacon?
I second.
Is there any discussion? The motion on the floor is to introduce ordinance 2604 by council as seated and approve on first reading. Will the city clerk read the title and take a roll call vote?
Ordinance 2604, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by the recognition of the Colorado Department of Transportation grant in the amount of $18,000 for driving under the influence DUI enforcement efforts. Your vote is now open. Nope. Sorry, Mayor, I think we're going to have to redo that one.
Okay.
Okay, your vote is now open.
Okay, that passes 8 with one excused absence. Thank you. All right, on to ordinance 2605, reappropriation of Metro Football Stadium District funding to youth activities in the city. Do any council members have questions for staff? Okay, seeing none. All right, I need a motion second to introduce ordinance 2605 by council as seated and approved on first reading. Councilmember Madera.
So moved.
Councilmember Chacon.
I second.
Okay. All right. Okay, is there any discussion? Councilmember Douglas.
Yeah, just going forward, I would like to get an annual report of how that money is spent, whether it's spent all in 1 year or a portion of it is spent on a program. I would just like to see how that money's spent going forward. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, let's see, any. All right. The motion on the floor is to introduce ordinance 2605 by council seated and approve on first reading. Will the city clerk read the title and take a roll call vote?
Ordinance 2605, an ordinance amending the 2024 budget of the City of Commerce City, Colorado by reappropriating remaining Metropolitan Football Stadium District funding balances in the amount of $24,398.28 for the continued use of the use activities and authorizing the expenditure thereof. Your vote is now open.
Okay, that passes 8 with one excused absence. Thank you. All right, on to administrative business. July 4th is going to be a big night. July 3rd as well. Police operation planning, I will invite Police Chief Qualiola to introduce this item.
Thank you, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem Council. I really just wanted to take a moment to be before you. City Manager Rogers suggested that might be prudent given all the fireworks that we see year in and year out. Last year was my first 4th of July in Commerce City. I was promised quite a show, and I did in fact get one. And meeting with council after that to talk a little bit about what we did, how we did it, and why we did some of the things that we did. Led me to conclude that perhaps this year I would get in front of it a little bit and really just avail myself to you all for any concerns that you might have with regard to our fireworks enforcement plan, and explain a little bit about why we're doing what we're doing. So there is a memo in your council packet. I won't read it to you, but I will say the 4th of July is a busy time for Commerce City PD. In addition to the normal complement of officers that we have, we will be having a total of 59 additional Commerce City PD employees working the 4th to try and ensure that it is a safe and fun holiday for everybody who is either at home barbecuing or at 4th Fest or watching the Rapids or doing anything else here. We have constantly have upticks in calls that are alcohol-driven calls for service, traffic issues, fireworks issues. The one thing I will say, we're going to try a little bit different this year than we did last year. Last year, you might recall, we did have several cars devoted to just firework complaint enforcement. We have doubled that effort this year, and normally in police operations, when you have the same call type, waiting for police service, those calls go first come, first serve. So if there is, we'll say, some kind of accident that's off to the side of the road, if we have 3 of those, we go to the one that's been waiting the longest. One of the things we're going to do this year with fireworks complaints, because we've routinely seen that as those hold, our officers begin to go to fireworks complaints that are no longer being lit because they've already been expended. So we're going to reverse that and send those dedicated units to the complaints that we get more recently rather than less recently, and see if that makes a difference on our impact, difference in the impact on our operations. But with that, I won't belabor your evening too much. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have or clarify anything, but I just wanted to get in front of you folks and share with you our plan and let you know we will be doing everything we can to make it a very safe, memorable 4th of July for everybody in Commerce City.
Council members have questions. Councilmember Ford.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, Chief, you know, for me, and I would think for our community, the biggest issue isn't having some fireworks on the 4th of July. It's having fireworks 2 weeks prior, a month after. If we could try to crack down on the fireworks that are happening now and happening after the 4th of July, I want everybody in our community to have a good 4th of July and enjoy theirself and enjoy their family and respect the day that it is and be respectful to your neighbors. You know, the 3 o'clock in the morning stuff is no good. If you're gonna do it early, get it out of the way, sparklers with the kids, whatever. Again, there are state laws and city laws that govern what kind of fireworks you can have, sparklers, whatever. But when we start seeing 7 and 8 inch mortars coming up out of our neighborhoods at 2 o'clock in the morning, we know they're not legal. So to you, thank you. I'm glad that you have a plan. But really, all the years that I've been in office, the biggest issue is prior to and after. The day of, seems like most everybody's pretty good around Commerce City. Yeah, there's a lot of fireworks. Get it done and get it out of the way and be safe. But the stuff 2 weeks later, you know, it's kind of like ATVs in the neighborhood. It's not something that you need. So to our residents, be respectful to the people around you. That's all I got.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
Thank you very much. How many staff do you, how many personnel do you have to have on the Dick's Sporting Goods fireworks? And the traffic and so on for that event?
Give me 1 second to do some quick addition. Looks like 31.
31. And I can attest to the fact that it is the best in the state, no question about it. But it does take a lot of your personnel just to work that event. So does that take away from your ability to police what's going on in the community?
No, ma'am. We, for as long as I've been here and before I came here, the folks that we hired, one of the things that we talk about early on, it's almost embedded, I guess, in the culture here, is that if you come to work for Commerce City PD, one of the things that you will just have to accept is that you likely won't have another 4th of July off. We do a little barbecue, or their FOP does a barbecue for family and friends that afternoon, but for the most part, our entire staff is working, to include myself.
And when will you close off East 60th Avenue and Prairie View Parkway?
That will be determined by our Emergency Operations Center once it's up and running based on volume.
Okay, so if someone is coming late to see the fireworks, there isn't a good way of knowing whether you can get close or not?
I would encourage everybody to be early.
Or come watch the soccer game? the other thing you could do. And I agree with Councilmember Ford. The week before is quite challenging, no question about it. And we know that people are buying fireworks in other states, which is why they're able to shoot off aerials and things that go kaboom. What is the fine if you're caught?
$500 or $1,000 respectively, depending on the offense.
Okay, and are fireworks that are sold at locations around Commerce City are all legal fireworks?
Yes, ma'am.
They are not aerials, they're not kabooms, none of that kind of stuff?
Correct. They all fall under the definition of permissible fireworks under statute.
Okay, so $500 to $1,000 if you are nabbed. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Douglas.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you for all of that you do and your staff does and the sacrifice that they make to serve this community in giving up a very special holiday. Thank you for asking the question about the fines. That was one of my questions. Earlier in the evening, we had someone come to the podium from our constituency, and they're probably in an area where there are a lot of enclaves of the county. How is that handled? And then, before you answer that question, I just want to speak to our community to please be respectful of your neighbors and to think about if those neighbors a couple blocks away might have animals that are terribly frightened of fireworks, and what you do to have fun may cause real harm to other people in making them lose work for sleep, having their animals be just frightened to death, and I've seen that. But I will let you answer that question regarding the enclaves, and then if our own fire or our own police department shows up and there's a discrepancy between whether it's in the county or the city, is there any way that we can still help those people? And that's my question. Thank you.
Well, thank you for the question. With regard to the enclaves, certainly there are portions of the city that are, one home, it belongs to Commerce City, one home belongs to Adams County. And law enforcement services are all dispatched through the Adams County Communication Center. So when they get those, as far as where calls for service are placed, that is a function of the call taker and maybe the dispatch center to try to drill down if someone calls and says, well, it might be one or two houses behind my house, which is here. Certainly in those areas, that could be Commerce City, that could be Adams County, that could be any number of jurisdictions. That said, law enforcement operations are also fairly dynamic. So there's certainly times where maybe one of our neighboring agencies, maybe the sheriff's department, has fewer calls for service and more manpower available to quickly address the situation than we do, or vice versa. What I would say is whether they get called to an area that's ours or we get called to an area that is theirs, we certainly maintain a very good working relationship with the sheriff's department and the agencies around us, and I have no doubt that we would be able to navigate a course that would help resolve the issue.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So basically, you respond to where the call center sends you, and they decide who they're going to call. Is that correct?
Well, they will put the call in based on information obtained by the caller.
Right.
But in times where you're seeing a mortar maybe one or two blocks over, that could be rather inexact. So certainly they're going to make their best effort to dispatch the appropriate authorities. If there happens to be a case where that's not entirely correct or the source is in a different jurisdiction, then we could certainly work with the other jurisdiction to figure that out.
So I just have one last question. They don't call both of you out, they would call one or the other. Is that accurate?
They would make their best effort to determine who has jurisdiction over the issue at hand and then dispatch that jurisdiction.
Okay, so it would just be one then?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you so much for answering my questions, I appreciate it. Oh, I do have one more question. Do you know what the fines are from the county?
I do not know what the fines are from the county.
Okay.
We're going to be writing our fines into the city court.
Very good, thank you.
Councilmember Teeter?
Yes, I'd just like to agree with Councilmember Ford. I think he pretty much spot on. The 4th of July is on the 4th. That's the day of celebration. Before and after is not a holiday. And it's very disrespectful to be shooting off late at night and scaring the hell out of dogs and people. And I also kind of reminiscing here from when I first got on the fire department way back in 1974. I remember that year well. When the calls come in on the 4th of July, it would come in as Fire Unit 200, stand by for the following calls. And they would name off about 6 locations, and the trucks would start responding. And we finally got to the point to where if you could see it, you took care of what you could see, and you worked your way out from there. Because it was just, we was like the Keystone Cops to start out with. I mean, we were just running back and forth across town, and then we finally decided we'd just take care of what we can see and put it out and work your way out from there. And I think the PD may, when it gets chaotic, you might want to just take care of what you can see, what's in front of you, and work your way out.
Thank you, sir.
But anyway, that's all I have.
Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
One other question. Do you use the new spot shotter?
I'm sorry?
Do you use the new spot shotter to catch these illegal fireworks?
The gunshot detection system, it's a machine trained, but it will, actually, it's trained not to pick up. It's trained to decipher between gunshots and fireworks. At least that's what we've been told, so we'll see if we get any hits on it this particular time.
right.
But theoretically, we should not.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Chief. I was looking at the fines, and I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe this changed, but the first citation is $1,000, and any repeat offenders were fined $2,000. Has that changed since last year?
I don't know, I think I believe there was a provision last year for 500, and that might have been for a juvenile. I would have to go back and check. There was some maybe leeway to give the court. When I looked at it last week, there was a provision for a $500 and $1,000 first offense, but I would have to dig into that a little bit more.
Okay, well, I'm looking on the city website, and it shows, first citation's $1,000, the second one is $2,000, and maybe it is, if there's a minor, maybe it is 500.
I apologize, sir. I would have to get back to you.
Oh, no problem. I'm just going off the city website to just checking. And yes, and then now, because they changed, there's certain days that you can let off fireworks. I believe it's July 3rd, 4th, and then New Year's, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If someone has video of someone lighting fireworks, does that count as evidence to turn into the police to say, hey, these folks are lighting off mortars and all that?
It certainly could. They would have to be fireworks that are not defined as permissible fireworks under statute. So there would have to be some kind of review there, but certainly video evidence of any kind is always something that we find very helpful.
All right, I appreciate that. Thank you, Chief.
Certainly.
Okay. Do any other council members have administrative business items of emergency or unforeseen circumstances? Councilmember Dukes.
Thank you, Mayor. Tonight, there are a lot of comments around just infrastructure and our core part of the city. And I know there's some work that's taking place on Colorado Boulevard between 68th and 64th. And curious if we could get an update, and then I have one more question about that.
Take your time, don't trip. Thank you, Mayor.
Just the work on that's currently taking place or in the process for some of the Colorado Boulevard improvements.
Hi, everyone. I'm Larry Assassin, Director of Public Works. I'll have to get a clear update with you as far as the work that's on Colorado right now. We are making improvements. I have to get, excuse me, have to get you updates on what we're doing currently and where we are in the process.
Okay, thank you, thank you. And just the thank you, you can sit down. No more questions, but we'd love an update on that just so we can share with the community. The other piece I just want to note, just based on tonight's testimony or public comment, I just want to appreciate, the idea that strong towns and cities and neighborhoods cannot happen without strong residents or people who care. And so I appreciate you coming and sharing these concerns. And the next piece is that I ask myself as a council member of what are the small things that we can do to just start showing that we can address the struggles that you're addressing. And so I will be looking forward to putting together a motion in the next couple of weeks that's appropriate to look at our infrastructure and look at opportunities for sidewalks. Something that Councilmember Madera said early when I got on the council was just, it's shocking to us that there's some parts of our city that don't have sidewalks. And so one of the easiest things and one of the smallest things I want to try to do is make sure we have sidewalks to the RTD at minimum. We do have urban renewal funding, we do have opportunities, and so it could be a yes and in terms of a golf course and a well-supported part of the city that has transportation, it has mobility, and has access for all of our residents. And so that's something that I'll look forward to sharing the next couple of weeks, and I'll work with the council and our city attorney and city manager Rogers to make sure, and Councilmember Madera to make sure we have the right language for an opportunity to assess what we need and the funding needed to really address all parts of our city, but specifically starting with the core.
Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
Thank you very much. I don't have an item to raise as a motion, but this is also the opportunity for us to comment on folks who have spoken to us earlier in the evening. And I really appreciate, as always, hearing from Ms. Valdez and also Mr. Rogers. Thank you very much. You raised some important points that we certainly do need to look at. I have been thinking lately, Buffalo Run Golf Course is a wonderful facility, and Bison Grill is as well. But if half of our community or more doesn't feel that it's accessible to them, then we really need to take a second look at that. And perhaps it needs to be leased by a company who could operate the facility for us and do the improvements themselves, put their own restaurant in there, look at it in a different fashion than we have previously. I'm not the first person to think about this. A few weeks ago, Councilmember Ford said, I don't know if we should be in this business. I thought that was a very good point he was making. Also, given the fact that South Commerce City has 14 marijuana dispensaries and now 16 if the other two go through, it would seem to me to make sense that all of the funds from those dispensaries be kept in South Commerce City. So it would be used for any improvements that are needed in South Commerce City. It wouldn't be used throughout the city. I think that would be fair as well. And also Ms. Valdez raised the question of seniors and taking care of seniors. We will be having later this month I think it's going to be a study session about the senior needs assessment that was taken for Commerce City last year. And so we'll have an opportunity to talk about that. I really wanted that to come up at least in July, so that if there's anything that we need to do, especially for seniors, that we have the budget coming in front of us in August. Also, there was a DEI needs assessment done as well. That hasn't been shared with us, but I hope it will soon, and shared with the DEI Commission. I was particularly moved tonight by the presentation of minority mental health resolution. It was very powerful. So thank you for all of you who participated in it. And I want to take the opportunity to also say that I had a public relations business for a very long time. We have, as was pointed out earlier, and it shouldn't be necessary, that we have the first Black mayor serving in Commerce City. And there are times when I see material going out from Commerce City that does not name our mayor. It does not say Mayor Steve Douglas. I will then take social media and I will repost it and I will identify him. There is no excuse for that. I don't care what department it is. You need to identify our mayor. And I will guarantee you, our mayor has never said that to me. That is not his nature, that is not his style, but it is mine because I always took care of the people who meant the world to me when I had my own business. And that's what the mayor means to me. We should be very proud of him, and this city should call that out on a regular basis. So I hope we will take that to heart tonight. Thank you.
Councilmember Darrow?
So thank you guys for coming out and addressing the disparities in our community. We currently have several tickets out with the CDOT for the potholes along 74th, Brighton Boulevard. You know, and you can name any of the Brightons, right? Basically all the way from York Street to 104th, you know, pass is CDOT right away that they rarely maintain. You know, the medians in Highway 85, that's CDOT right of way that we have tickets in currently following up with them. So I'd just like to make a motion to have staff drive the CDOT and county right of way that goes through Commerce City and determine the needs and get those all on their list to fix potholes or, you know, if need be, figure out a IGA that we can work with our partner agencies to fix these roads and, you know, maybe build them back.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. I need a second.
What is the motion?
The motion is to direct staff to drive Colorado Boulevard and see about the potholes that need to be fixed, that responsible for the CDOT in the right-of-ways.
Yeah, all CDOT and Adams County right of way that runs through our city, so not just that one road.
All right, need a second. Councilmember Ford?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Councilmember Douglas?
Thank you. I was going to second that, but this is a long time coming. So thank you so much for making that motion. This is something that we just keep talking about and not doing anything about. And always saying it's someone else's responsibility, and it's never been taken care of or addressed. So if it took people from the community to come out, I don't know how many times, to spend their precious time here. Thank you for thinking of this. And yeah, it's been a long time coming. So going out and actually looking at it, I always want to meet people in the neighborhood so they can see what I'm talking about. It's one thing to try to explain things to people, but unless they want to take the time out to actually go and see what the problems are. A week ago, Friday, we went out and got in that area like 6:30 in the morning to see what kind of activity. The trucks were already lined up, especially for Rocky Mountain Recycling. I don't know when they open on the east side. I know that we stipulated that they couldn't open until 7 on the other side, but they were already working on the east side. So this is something that we need to do. We need to go and see for ourselves and assess things on a personal level so that we know what's going on. So thank you for making the motion.
Councilmember Ford.
Thank you. You know, I have to agree with Councilwoman Douglas. For years, I continue to say it. Many of you have heard me say it. Highway 85, where it runs down through in front of the old Ace Hardware, the Adams City High School area, Brighton Boulevard. I actually would like to take it a step further and try to get staff to arrange a meeting with our state representatives and our county commissioners to have a sit-down discussion about infrastructure in our area. I go to a lot of other cities and I see these nice landscaped areas in their highways. I see nice walls. Yeah, we're trying to get them to fix 270 right now, but we've been ignored for a long time. And every time I drive down and see those medians in Highway 85 along 69th Avenue, they're trash. You know, the discussion about pride, I think, is really what it is. And we have to take more pride in all of our city. And the south end of our city is where I grew up. And I still have a lot of passion for this part of our community. I want to see all of Commerce City maintained at the same level. I mean, maintenance should not be disparative in any nature. It should be the same for everybody. And it is very frustrating, to say the least. One of the things that wasn't mentioned tonight is down here on Quebec Street, their median for 270 is turned into a damn parking lot. Whether it's RVs, tractor trailers, it is turned into an all-out parking lot. And those are the things that we need to sit down and talk with our representatives about. They're the ones that come here and they ask for your votes. And it's about time that those who represent us earn some of those votes. And so if staff could please try to reach out to those agencies and try to get a meeting where we can sit down. Doesn't have to be some big outrageous thing, but just where we can sit down and have a discussion about some of their facilities that run through our city. And I'm not just blaming it on them. We need to do a better job as well. So I want to see pride. One of the things that the city just did recently is this Who Has the Best Yard campaign, and it's a winner in each ward each month. I think that we need things like that that instill people to have pride in our community, to want to have a nice yard, to want to be in a place. It's frustrating with law enforcement, not our law enforcement. I love our police department, but when the state decriminalizes certain things, and car theft is a misdemeanor anymore, and it's not, nobody goes to jail. I mean, that's not because of our police department. That's because the state legislature makes laws that says you can't arrest somebody for stealing a car. You know, I mean, so it makes it really difficult, and people wonder, why are there car thefts in our community? It's a problem everywhere, not just here. We see it because we live here. But we have to have better laws, and people need to be accountable for their actions. And that's, I want the same thing, and it's really hard to be a council person, sit up here, and you agree with the things you're hearing from your residents, but you're hamstrung from other agencies. You know, if somebody's smoking crack in the park, you can go arrest them. The downside is they'll probably be back in the park in an hour because we can't hold them. So I think there's a lot of things that need to change to try to get things on a better trajectory for our residents. So I feel for our residents when they have those complaints. Hey, my car got stolen. How come nobody's out looking for it? Well, because there's 200 other stolen cars that are out in the neighborhood. And if we find it, you know, we'll tell you where it's at. You can go get it. It's not like the guy went to jail. He got to walk down the street with a ticket to show up to court at a later date. That part of it is very frustrating to me. But the only way we're going to get some collaboration is if we say, hey, representatives for the state that represent our community and our county commissioners, we need to sit down and we need to have a meeting and talk about what needs taken care of, especially in the southern portion of our city.
Yes.
Just for clarification, so there is a principal motion on the floor, and for Councilmember Ford, I think what I heard was a motion to amend. The principal motion in that motion to amend was to also direct city staff to arrange a meeting with state reps to discuss the city's infrastructure. Is that correct?
I would just like to add county commissioners as well. If we could get the state reps, the county commissioners, and I would love to make that amendment and add that to the motion, if the motion maker is acceptable.
Just for clarification, actually, Bob's Rules of Order, this is our first chance to talk about this. So a friendly amendment is actually allowed by the presiding officer, which is the mayor. It does not require the motion maker to accept. That said, the body, if you have a problem with the friendly motion, the friendly amendment, my apologies, then anyone at the dais can state what their concerns are prior to the presiding officer allowing the friendly amendment.
I would only ask that you include the mayor with that discussion. Thank you. Councilmember Douglas?
Thank you. I'd also ask that a tour be included in it. So, like I said earlier, seeing is believing, so that they can actually see with their own eyes what's going on, if that is acceptable to the amendment to the amendment, I guess.
So just for clarification, we have a principal motion on the floor. We have a motion to amend under Bob's rules. You cannot have a motion to amend, an amendment, actually. So my recommendation would be for the council to first make a decision on the motion to amend, which I'm interpreting as a friendly amendment to the principal motion, because there were no one contested it. So I think restating the principal motion with the friendly amendment, the motion that is on the floor is directing staff to conduct an assessment and drive along right-of-ways owned and maintained by the Colorado Department of Transportation in Adams County, to identify potholes and other opportunities for road repair. Additionally, directing staff to arrange a meeting with state reps and the county commissioner to discuss the city's infrastructure and including the mayor.
And that's the motion, and
That is the motion on the floor.
and as the presiding officer, I accept that. So do we go to more discussion, or do we vote on it?
So you can have discussion on that, and then you would need to vote on that motion prior to making an amendment to it.
Okay,
You still have not, well, actually, my apologies. That is the principal motion now. You may amend the principal motion.
Councilmember Dukes?
Yeah, I'd like to add an amendment to the principal motion in addition to the other, so add an additional amendment. And as is mentioned, identify potholes and infrastructure. I would say identify funding streams and provide a timeline when we have that meeting. I think that's the important piece. So we can not just have the meeting, but we know how to fund it, how to get it done in a timely manner.
Councilmember Madera?
Yeah, I agree with that. I just want to clarify, the original motion was to identify and report any of these issues to whoever is responsible for that right of way. So I don't want that to get lost in the original motion, because I know it's getting a little long here for that primary motion.
Understood. Thanks for that clarification.
Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
Are you asking for, Councilmember Dukes, are you asking for the meeting to include the revenue streams for these repairs? Are they to know that before they know what the issues are?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Mayor.
Councilmember Dukes?
So not beforehand, but in my mind with this amendment, with this motion, would be identifying the right-of-ways, who needs to be repaired, and who's responsible for it, and then having a meeting to discuss the responsibilities. And a part of that meeting would be where the funding is going to be able to actually fix it, and then having a timeline to it. So that's the logic behind that, where they don't have to show up to the meeting with the funding in mind, which everyone knows where the funding would be. But it will be a logical progression. Identify funding, right? And then a timeline for repair in that sequence. That's how I envision that. The heart of it is I want to make sure this gets done, right? It's making sure that we have a timeline. That's the big piece. So it's not, frankly, coming back again a year from now to talk about it.
All right, and ask the city clerk to take a roll call vote?
So one moment.
Yes.
So that was a motion to amend the principal motion. Is there a second to that motion to amend?
Councilmember Chacon?
I second the amendment.
Okay, there's a first and a second. Yes, okay. Let's repeat that.
Sorry, sir?
Do we need to restate the motion again?
I can restate the motion. If you give me 1 second, I'm typing it out furiously.
Okay, any other discussion? Councilmember Dukes?
I just want to state that was one of the original goals when I mentioned is to have a motion like this capacity. So just to be clear, I won't be coming back with another motion. I think we figured it out collectively, but this is the intent, like have a comprehensive approach to get things done. And so I'm not coming back with anything else after this, so.
Thank you. Councilmember Ford?
Yeah, I just had a point of order, because when I did my friendly amendment, the attorney said, we don't have to have a second. The mayor is the one who can determine that. Then we just had another friendly amendment and had to have a second.
If it was, my apologies, I wasn't sure if that was a friendly amendment or a motion to amend. I thought I heard someone say I'm making a motion to amend. It's a very good question.
Just getting me confused here. I want to do it the right
no,
way.
that's fair.
Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
Okay. Councilmember Dukes, can you just identify this for me? I'm looking at assess the infrastructure on right-of-ways, meet, determine sources of revenue, timeline. Is that the order?
Just a point of order, not necessarily sources of revenue, funding sources to address the
Okay,
issue.
right, okay, but in that order.
That, yeah, if that's appropriate for
Okay,
the,
assess, meet, identify
yeah, the
funding
hope,
sources and timeline.
yeah, the hope would be during that meeting, that's where we
Right.
pull out, that's
Right, but they don't need the funding sources before the meeting.
correct, that's,
Right, I just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Is everyone ready?
Oh, one more. Councilmember Chacon, do you have anything else you want to add?
I'm afraid to add, but I think it was assessed to find out which agencies are responsible for that space, correct? The principal motion? Like it is the exact timeline as we laid out, but the initial one was to assess and then which agency, so if it's CDOT, if it's the county, things like that. Am I correct? All right.
Yeah, sorry, the motion's gotten a little convoluted, because the original motion was meant to have staff, drive through all the right-of-ways that go through the city that don't belong to Commerce City, to identify potholes or any maintenance needs, and report those to those entities to have them repair those issues, or figure out a way for us to fix them and, work with the agencies so they get fixed, because, at the end of the day, we get passed on. We have so many requests out with CDOT right now. I get updates on them daily, and, CDOT usually doesn't respond. And so we have staff following up again and again. And, so just coming up with a solution to fix these, because it just comes to the point where it's like, those aren't our right-of-ways. There's nothing we can do about it. And we need to figure something out with working with our partners. But I think it'd be better if we come forward to them and say, look, these are all your guys' right-of-ways, and these are the problems that we have. And there's hundreds, right? There's too many for me to drive and, try to fill out a ticket while I'm driving. So I think that's kind of where I was going with this, is to, find a solution to work with our partners.
Thank you. I just wanted to specify so that we can know who we're meeting with, so we're
Sure.
not wasting time.
Appreciate that. Okay, City Attorney?
Would you like me to read what I believe is the motion?
Yes, sir.
A motion directing staff to conduct an assessment by driving through right-of-ways owned and maintained by the Colorado Department of Transportation in Adams County to identify potholes and other opportunities for road repair and to inform those responsible. Also to arrange a meeting with state reps and county commissioners to discuss the infrastructure in the city and to identify funding sources and a timeline to resolve these issues.
Thank you. All right. Ask the city clerk to take a roll call vote.
Your vote is open.
Okay, that passes 8 with 1 excused absence. Thank you. Any other council members have administrative business or unforeseen circumstances? Mayor Pro Tem Noble?
Thank you. I was watching the meeting tonight on my phone. I was watching the YouTube because a constituent had talked about the fact how difficult it is to view from home. The screen that's behind us remains behind us in the window, and then we're all sitting in the front. So people viewing at home or on their laptops are not able to read the screen. So the suggestion was from the constituent, I'm not making this as a motion, I'm just commenting here. Her concept was that the screen be half the screen, the slide that's behind us right now, that it would be half the screen, and that we would be the other half the screen so that those viewing the meetings at home would be able to see it. And because I am watching the meeting at the same time, I notice that there's a pothole on the dais. I don't have a light in my station. So if we can fix that too. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councilmember Douglas.
I don't know if this is the appropriate time. I guess I didn't use the correct verbiage to ask for an amendment, so I should have asked for an amendment to the motion rather than an amendment to the amendment. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I'm trying to track exactly what you were requesting to be changed.
Oh, I was requesting to include requiring a visual tour of the roads that Councilman Madera put into his motion.
Sorry, I did not catch that. I did not catch that as a motion.
Told me I couldn't make a friendly amendment to Councilmember Ford's amendment.
You may make a
just
friendly
saying.
amendment, however, presiding officer has to approve that friendly amendment. Otherwise, it needs to be a motion to amend, which
So
everyone
if the
has.
mayor would have approved it, then I would have been okay?
I'm gonna,
No, no.
technically, yes, but I'm not sure that it was, I'm not sure that it was technically made as a motion, right? I think that's the biggest piece here is
That's what I'm
particularly in
saying.
administrative business.
So
Just
in the future, watch your verbiage?
yes, so I would strongly recommend anyone that is trying to change something that's on the floor to say, I'd like to make a motion to ... Otherwise, we're inferring that you're making a motion to change something.
Okay, because I was making a friendly amendment to the friendly amendment that was made, so I'm just trying to clarify things. I'm not trying to create havoc or anything, and I'm not trying to be butthurt about not being heard about my, but I just think it's an important part of the process that they go and see for themselves. And I want to make sure that whoever is running the show when this is done, that's a part of it. Thank you. And in the future, I will make sure that I read Bob's rules better. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, on to reports. Acting City Manager Kathy Blakeman.
All right, I want to start with this upcoming Thursday.
I don't think it's on. Sorry about that. There you go.
I think I need to get closer to it.
Just like it's some ice cream.
Yeah, it's on. I just need to get closer. Thank you, sir. So this upcoming Thursday, July 4, outside of the Dick's Sporting Goods Park, there's going to be a free family festival featuring a live DJ, food trucks, tons of free activities like a bounce house, rock climbing wall, soccer darts, scary, pedal carts, and more. The festival starts at 5 p.m., and the Rapids will also be hosting a block party featuring drinks, food trucks, and an LED wall that will stream the Rapids game live. And then after the game, stick around for one of Colorado's largest public fireworks shows, which is expected to start shortly after 10 p.m. I have an update from the police department that after several years of working to get our patrol units fully staffed, the Commerce City Police Department is now bringing back their crime prevention unit. This unit will be a key component in furthering our efforts to build bridges with underserved populations of our city and host community events that foster relationships between officers and the people we serve and protect. The unit will liaise with our business community and focus their efforts on reducing crime through proactive patrolling and community partnerships. Crime Prevention will also aim to host unique classes for members of the community interested in learning more about ways to protect their property and their person. We'll get more information out on that when they're a little further down the road of standing that up, and it'll be out also on our social media platforms. With PRG, as was mentioned a little earlier, the summer shindig was at Frontera Park this past Thursday, June 27, which was our first summer shindig as part of the Music in the Park series. There were 5 food trucks and dancing, and several city departments as well as local nonprofits were in attendance, providing valuable information about community resources and services. Last I heard, it was reported over 700 people were in attendance. So mark your calendar for the next summer shindig, which is at Pioneer Park on July 25. And that will conclude my report.
Sorry, thank you. All right, City Attorney Zarzaki, please provide your weekly report.
Nothing for me, sir.
Nothing, okay. Do any council members wish to make a report? Councilmember Ford.
Thank you. I just want to report that I did talk to a couple of developers in our city on Wednesday at our Rotary meeting. Of course, Russ Watterson is a regular member, and we didn't discuss any of his development, but he was there. And Daniel Frank gave a presentation talking about his development and the commercial opportunities that he also has at 96th and Tower. And other than that, I just want to congratulate Jordan. Jordan, this is his last council meeting.
What?
And hate to see him not here on Monday nights, but he did get promoted. And congratulations on your promotion, Jordan. We'll miss you on Monday nights.
All right, Councilmember Teeter.
Yes, I attended the Rotary meeting along with Counselor Ford and got to see that presentation put on by Daniel, forget his last name. Frank. And I had lunch with Russ Watterson, one of our first developers, and one that was in charge of getting Buffalo Run started back in the day. Also attended the special board meeting with the Friends for Rocky Mountain Wildlife Refuge, and they're now getting big enough to where they don't have to wait for money to come from GOCO to Commerce City to them. They are now big enough to where Commerce City has, for this year, we pushed the money over to them to where it's going to go directly from GOCO to the Fox and Friends Rocky Mountain Wildlife Refuge. And that should free up some of our people here in Commerce City, which is great. And it's great for them. They don't have to jump through that hoop. I also attended the I-270 meeting the next, or a few hours later. And, but, you know, I still haven't heard how much money we're going to get to spend on that organization, and I still haven't heard where the money's coming from. So I'm a little concerned about that. But we have more meetings scheduled for the future. And I also attended the Chambers After Hours meeting on Wednesday at South Adams County Water and Sanitation District, and got a chance to tour their plant. And I got to tell you, this outfit is just so far ahead of the rest of the water departments and the sanitation districts that when they first detected this PFOS and PFOA, they was sending it back to get it tested. And the expense of doing that was so great that they invested some money in their own lab and come up to where they could test it right there at their plant. And now the state legislature has passed standards that every city's going to have to be testing their wells by the year 2027. So that's just 3 years away. And they're already asking if they can bring it to South Adams, and South Adams says they can't do testing for all of them because of insurance reasons, but talk about a business opportunity for somebody, there's gonna be a whole bunch of money spent by a whole bunch of municipalities here in the near future getting their water tested. It's just a matter of bringing a plant here in this state, and so they don't have to send it back east. Also, the next day, I attended the E470 Authority, or not the Authority Board, the Operations and Public Affairs Committee, along with Mayor Douglas, and the technology they have on, they're coming up with their cameras and stuff to where if a tire or a piece of metal should fly off from a car, it just, their cameras will pick it up and pinpoint it, and they have crews that are just on the move immediately to get it out of the road, and they're coming up with some different high-tech situations to keep people from entering the road the wrong way and stuff. It's an amazing committee. And also on Friday, I got to spend some time along with a number of the council people here at the Freedom Tao Farmers Insurance Agency, ribbon cutting, and that was a nice event. And that's all I have for now.
Thank you. Councilmember Dukes.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to let the council know that over the last couple of weeks, I've had some great conversations with small business owners. And as you know, you've seen in our email, I asked the city staff to produce a report on the economic impact for small businesses across our city. And it came out to be around $43 million that our small business community contributes to us as a city. And so with that, over the next couple of weeks, I'll be working on a motion to really think through how do we create a small business advisory, a small business council that helps provide recommendations for us as a city to create conditions that we can make sure they thrive in a supportive fashion. And so that's something that I'll be looking forward to working with other council members on and thinking through, again, how do we retain, keep, and support our small businesses so they can thrive in the near future. And of course, this includes other folks like the Chamber and everybody else to be a part of this conversation. So I'll be looking forward to having a conversation in the near future.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Noble.
Thank you very much. And Councilmember Dukes, that's a great idea. Reminds me of the Economic Development Advisory Group that we had a couple of years ago, and this is something that they very much wanted to have happen. And I would include Adelante. I mean, there's a lot of different groups here in Commerce City that would be part of something like that. I didn't attend, it was Zoom, Environmental Justice Zoom meeting for the federal grant possibilities with Adams County Health Department. And also, I was part of the same meeting that the council member was for Friends of Rocky Mountain Refuge. I am working with Rocky Mountain Refuge and with the Cronky people to arrange a meeting so that they can tour the arsenal. I have been encouraging the Cronky folks to think of the arsenal as a very important entity for them to build off of for any project that they do, and they're going to be coming to the next meeting. Thank you.
Councilmember Douglas.
Thank you. So, spent the whole day at the Family Justice Center conference. It was a 2-day conference. I only got to spend 1 day, but it was put on by Judicial District 17. Our DA, Brian Mason, put it on, and I see lots of opportunities for Commerce City to work with the DA on this project, possibly putting a satellite here. It goes hand in hand with what we are doing with our community well-being department. And so I would like very much to connect the people from that department with the DA so that you could discuss the possibilities of getting something started here. Let me see. Oh, I also was going to attend the I-270 meeting. However, there were 2 other council members, so I sat on the sidelines and did not participate since I didn't want to be in violation of the Sunshine Act, but I had good intentions in participating. Then I went to Music in the Park. I already reported on that, how fantastic it was. Oh, let me see. That was in the night, but before that, had a wonderful meeting with the city manager, Jason Rogers, and our city attorney, Lee Zarzecki. And it was regarding land use, and it was training, and it was excellent. And I learned so much that I can apply to my role here in council, and hope to continue my training on that. From there, I went to the EPAC meeting, which was over at Eagle Creek, and that was an excellent meeting. That's the Environmental Policy Advisory Commission, which I would love to see turned into an actual commission and be part of the boards and commissions here rather than an advisory council. And I think, oh, one more thing. When I met with the Sikh community and Congresswoman Yadira Caraveo and Daphne Michelson, Janae, I said that she was our state rep from House District 32. She is not. She is our senator for District 21. So I wanted to clarify that. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. Last week, I attended the 270 stakeholders meeting, workshop number 5. And these meetings are a monthly occurrence, usually the last Tuesday of the month, along with Councilmember Teeter. See, E470 Operations and Public Affairs Committee meeting on Thursday with Councilmember Teeter as well. Did a video for the 4th of July Fest over at Cronky. That was exciting, it was different. Had the shindig, and I want to, along with Councilmember Douglas, and want to thank the citizens for coming out, because without the citizens coming out and supporting that, those events would not happen. And this is the first summer shindig, and we had a lot of people. And hearing that it was over 700 people, wow. I think the next one's probably going to be 1,000 people. I mean, that's, and the fact that it wasn't just, traditionally we had hot dogs and hamburgers and just went to hot dogs. Now we have vendors who are participating, so there is something for everyone as far as choosing. Ribbon cutting for Freedom Towway Farmers Insurance. It was great visiting with the new owner of that insurance, along with the chambers and Councilmember Teeter. And then we had a discussion, myself and Councilmember Douglas, with over at Congresswoman Yadira's office, talk about escrow shortage first with some of our residents and seeing what the federal government could do as far as helping them. That is big in a lot of people's ticket as far as not affording where they live. And these escrow shortages are coming up, and it's not a pretty thing to open up your mail and see that you have a shortage, because typically what they do is do a 36-month shortage, put your escrows out So at least you are able to maybe afford where you live, and then the next year it goes from 36 months to 24 months. And then if there's anything new as far as this new assessment on your insurance, along with your property tax, then that gets added on too, but it's a shorter window. Instead of 36 months, it's 24 months. You know, I hate to see our citizens being squeezed and having to move because of financial issues. And I had a discussion with some residents who live over at Greyhound Park, and need to get something straight over there as well. So, but just letting everybody know that had the discussion, and we'll continue to have those discussions, and that's it. Just want to make sure everybody has a very safe 4th of July that's coming up. And, you know, be conscious of your neighbors with pets, because animals, they don't know what's happening out there, and that's very, you know, very concerning that a lot of people have pets here, and to hear those loud booms, that really puts them in a state of mind that some little guys could have a heart attack. So, all right, I don't see anybody report, so we'll go on to, sorry about that. I had my next sheet here. Okay, executive session. I need a motion and a second to enter executive session, City Council of Commerce City pursuant to CRS 24-6-402, purpose 4 and E, for the purpose of determining positions related to a matter that may be subject to negotiation, developing strategies for negotiation, instructing negotiators for potential offering of an incentive package for proposed new development and business expansion of an industrial business in the city. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Teeter.
No discussion, but I'll make that motion.
Okay. Okay, the motion of, all right, go ahead and make that motion. You want to say it? State it.
I move to go into executive session, CR.
No, second one down, sir. Sorry about that.
Oh.
Oh, yeah, there. Sorry about that. Right there.
Oh. The motion on the floor is to enter into executive session, well, City Council will pursue CRS .24-6-402 for the purpose of determining positions relative to the matter that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategies and negotiations, and instructing negotiators for the potential of offering an incentive package for the proposed new development and business expansion of an industrial business in the city.
So that's the motion. You need a second.
Yes. Councilmember Dukes?
I second that motion.
All right, at first and a second, will the city clerk take a roll call vote?
Your vote is now open.
Thank you. Okay, that passes. Voted 8 to 1, excuse absence. So we will now enter the executive session. Council will return from executive session to take action. The executive session is estimated to last approximately 30 minutes.
Executive session, so I'm here real quick.
All right, we're back. Okay, I need a motion and second to adopt a resolution approving economic development business incentive for Arlen Mills LLC. Councilmember Padero.
So moved.
Councilmember Chacon.
My second.
Is there any discussion? All right. Per Charter, Section 5.5, the city clerk shall now read the resolution in full.
Thank you, Mayor. Give me just a few minutes to get through this, and then we will open your vote. A resolution approving economic development business incentives for Ardent Mills LLC, number 2024-080. Whereas the City Council of Commerce City Council, by resolution number 2014-56, adopted the Commerce City Economic Development Incentives Program, effective January 1, 2015. Whereas Ardent Mills LLC, whose principal business address is 1875 Lawrence Street, Suite 1400, Denver, Colorado 80202, business, has submitted a business incentive application under the incentive program in connection with proposed new development and business expansion operations in the City of Commerce City. Whereas the estimated combined value of facility improvements planned for the relocation expansion of the business in the city, including fixed value assets and new construction, collectively facility improvements, is $105 million, and the business anticipates retaining 75 jobs and creating up to an additional 2 net new full-time jobs in the city by December 31st, 2026. Whereas the City Council has reviewed the business incentive application and staff report. Now therefore be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Commerce City, Colorado as follows. Section 1, findings. The City Council finds and determines that granting incentives to the business, subject to conditions to be established by an incentive agreement consistent with this resolution and applicable law, will serve a public purpose and the public need and be in the public interest. Section 2, authorization. The city manager is authorized to rebate to the business the following amounts as incentives for the facility improvements. A, 40% of the city's non-dedicated sales and use tax at the 3.5% rate, payable and remitted to the city in connection with the facility improvements, and B, 50% of the building permit fees and building plan review fees payable and remitted to the city in connection with the facility improvements. Such incentives shall apply whether the tax and fees are paid to the city directly by business or through vendors and contractors, but shall not apply to any future improvements, no other fees or amounts will be subject to any incentive. Section 3, conditions. Incentives provided to business are subject to the following conditions and any additional conditions established in an incentive agreement. A, the facility improvements must be completed by December 31st, 2026, as evidenced by the issuance of a certificate of occupancy on or before that date, except in accordance with subsection V. Construction and improvements after this deadline will not be eligible for incentives. If a delay is due to the city and in no part due to the business, the city will extend the deadline noted herein in proportion to the length of such delay. B, all equipment for the business's operations and the facility related to the project must be purchased and delivered by December 31st, 2026, except in accordance with subsection V. Equipment purchased after this deadline will not be eligible for incentives. C, business must employ at least 77 persons in full-time positions at the facility by December 31st, 2026, subject to any extensions granted in accordance with subsection V, which would include 2 new full-time positions resulting from an expansion. D, business must create at least 2 new full-time positions at the facility by December 31st, 2026, unless such deadline is extended pursuant to subsection V below, and the average wage paid by the business at the facility must exceed the county average wage of $65,312. Employees filling the position created must be direct employees of the business. Temporary, leased, or contract employees are not to be included or considered when determining compliance with this requirement. E, all dates, deadlines referenced above are eligible for potential one-time extension of 6 months A written notice of request to extend must be submitted to the city manager at least 30 days prior to the original deadline, and the notice must include an explanation for the request. The city manager will have sole discretion to approve or decline the request. F, business must complete regular quarterly progress reports, Exhibit A to incentive agreement, indicating its progress on the construction of the facility improvements and employment, and submit such reports to the city manager. G, business must engage with the city by November 1, 2025 to discuss potential sponsorships for community programs or initiatives such as a sponsorship of public murals, community festivals, or other initiatives that would benefit the city's residents. The business must sponsor and contribute to a community initiative by March 1st, 2026. Section 4, incentive agreement. The city manager is authorized to negotiate and execute an incentive agreement with the business consistent with the incentive program and this resolution to establish any additional conditions that the city manager deems necessary and in the city's best interest, which conditions shall govern and be conditions to the payment of any incentives. Such conditions shall address without limitation timing of payments, procedure for requesting rebates, and provisions deemed necessary by the city manager for reimbursement to the city for the failure to meet any conditions and overpayments. Nothing in this resolution shall be construed to obligate the city to provide any incentive except as provided in an incentive agreement in a form acceptable to the city manager and approved as to form by the city attorney. Section 5, limitation. The city's obligation to pay any incentive is subject to all commitments to pay any city bonds and any restrictions in such bonds. Nothing in this resolution or any incentive agreement shall be construed to create a multiple fiscal year debt or financial obligation to pay the incentive or reimburse taxes to any person or entity without prior citywide voter approval. Any incentive payable in accordance with this resolution shall be subject to annual appropriations that are a legislative decision of the city council for the city. No portion of the 1% sales and use tax approved by voters on November 5, 2013, or any future increase will be used to provide any incentive under this resolution. All sales and use taxes must be remitted to the city at the current rate as amended. All incentives provided to businesses shall be conditioned on verification of the city sales and/or use tax and fee payments received by the city and shall be payable solely from sales and use taxes for the sales and use tax rebate, and building permit and building plan review fees for the fee rebate collected in connection with capital improvements. Resolved and passed this first day of July 2024.
All right, thank you. The motion on the floor is to adopt Resolution 2024-080. Will the city clerk take a roll call vote?
Your vote is open.
Thank you. Okay, that passes with 8 yeses and 1 excused absence. All right, motion to adjourn. The time is now 9:33. I need a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting. Councilmember Douglas.
Move to adjourn the meeting, please.
Councilmember Teeter.
Second the motion.
The motion on the floor is to adjourn the meeting. Will the city clerk take a roll call vote?
Your vote is open.
All right, it passes 8 yeses and 1 excused absence. See you guys next week.
Well read, Dylan.
Thank you.